DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy, family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane.
All right, everybody, happy Monday. It's another Victory Monday for the Buffalo Bills here on Bills Weekly. Paul Russo, Jim Sinicropi, Kyle Evans here with you. Look, these intros are pretty easy at this point. Bills win, but we have a lot to get to. Within that was the first winter weather game of the year here in Western New York for the Bills, and a lot to kind of get to and dissect within that. Preview the week ahead, heading out west to take on the Rams in Week 14. A lot to get to, so let's jump into it. But first, I have to thank a couple more of our sponsors, including the Lux Hotel and Conference Center, the next great location for your overnight stay, wedding, event, reception, meeting space, and more with on-site food and beverage at Woody's Bar and Grill. Find everything you're looking for in one spot. You can contact them today to inquire about your next opportunity. And the Perfect Pair Eatery. Perfect Pair Eatery, quality carryout cuisine in Seneca Falls. Everything made fresh with in-house smoked meats, comfort classics, desserts, and sweet treats. Sure to please the entire family for lunch or dinner. They're also offering business lunch drop-off on Monday and Tuesday. Reach out at perfectpaireatery.com or call 315-712-4004 today and look for the yellow door at 64 West Baird Street.
They have something coming up for the wonderful run, the Perfect Pair.
We do over there, huh?
Yeah, they're going to have turkey legs.
Ooh.
Yeah. You know, you just take it and go.
Hell yeah.
Kind of like at Disney World.
Yeah, I did that the one time down there, and I'm sure theirs is going to be about 15 times better.
Yeah, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. So keep an eye out for that.
Love hearing that. All right, so 35-10 victory over the 49ers in Orchard Park last night for the Buffalo Bills. Call it what you want, snow game, snow globe game, snow bowl. As I called it for even the episode podcast itself, snow place like home for the Buffalo Bills. It's interesting. It's tough to be really critical in games like yesterday where, even like second drive for each team, you could tell things just got sideways quick. They were calling it tiptoeing around. I kind of hate that. Just call it what it is. Nobody's really getting good traction and all that. But for the Buffalo Bills, just the flat-out better team went out there and just flat-out got it done last night.
I mean, the Chiefs can't even buy a blowout win, and here the Bills are blowing out a team in the snow in elements that, just a few years ago people said the Bills can't win in these elements. They can't run the football. Well, they sure as hell did run the ball pretty well in this game. And, 10-2 for the first time in 33 years. Divisional title on December 1st, 5th straight, without even playing the Patriots. People forget to even mention that part of it. And Josh Allen, MVP leader, continues to rise up with his unbelievable play. And again, he did it in the snow, where you look around the league and QBs every week are struggling to even play well in good elements. So I was very impressed with the win. And, I mean, man, you couldn't have expected a better start to the year than what the Bills are doing.
Snow game. Nothing better than a snow game. I mean, for everybody sitting at home watching in the comfort of their own home, how much fun is that on a Sunday night? And then for all the Bills fans that made the trip, especially from our neck of the woods, probably got home at 3 a.m. God bless you.
Yeah, I know a couple people who were there doing the concession side of things. They shout out to Cuca Baseball for that. But I know the bus ride for them was long afterwards, and going to, obviously, first and foremost, shout out to everybody out that way. I went to college in Western Pennsylvania. The snow belt is not fun during stuff like that. So kudos to the people who were able to get it done and everybody working and everything like that. But yeah, I was certainly happy to be inside my own house last night during the game. It's crazy, the snow games, because I remember me personally, I played a baseball snow game one time and one football snow game, and it's weird. I know I'm an outlier in this. I didn't have a ton of fun in either of those situations, but I'm also not a big fan of the cold and the snow anyway in the first place. But I think it helps when you kind of, like, you got to the lead, you're able to kind of have like the Bills did last night, and you can kind of loosen up a little bit more and get away with some kind of stuff. But for the Bills, they just looked like they were just way better prepared. And
McCaffrey getting hurt didn't hurt the Bills' chances. I mean, he
Yeah.
was having his way a little bit on the ground. They get into the red zone, they'd stall. But once McCaffrey was out, forget about it. I mean, the route was on. I think the Bills still would have probably won if McCaffrey hadn't exited the game injury, which you got to feel bad for the guy. But yeah, I think that made a difference. But the Bills just couldn't be stopped on the ground. I mean, they brought in the sixth offensive lineman for like 40% of the plays, and then they just ran the ball down their throat. Ray Davis, Cook, Allen, whoever.
Yeah.
Forcing their will. Then the defense got the turnovers, which you're going to see in a game like this. The Bills didn't turn it over, though. The Bills entered the game with a plus 14 turnover differential, 84 points off those takeaways, and they got 3 more last night. So that's a plus 17 turnover differential through 12 games?
Yeah, they have at least one turnover in every game so far.
I mean, it's pretty impressive. I mean, you could look at a lot of different dynamics of this team as to why they are in such a good position. And, MVP quarterback, defense that turns the ball over, good running game, lots of guys contributing on offense, the ability to overcome some of the injuries that they've had. I think you almost got to add good coaching into that too at this point. Kyle, what do you think? Like Sean McDermott, he'll never truly be get the kudos he maybe warrants unless they get to a Super Bowl at least. But they came in off the bye week and just smacked him in the mouth, had him ready to play.
Yeah, I mean, 8-0 after a bye week just says it all. You go away for a week, you come back, prep for the team, and you just come out and continue to play well. That's coaching right there. And I think the other big stat is in the last 22 December, January regular season games, they're 20-2, and they've won 15 of those in a row. Their last loss was December of 2021 when they lost to the Bucs. Tom Brady was the quarterback. They do well down the stretch. I mean, remember they won out last year to win the East for a 4th straight year. That was last year.
Mm-hmm.
So they play their best ball down the stretch. And, of course, they get into the playoffs, and, we're still going to mention it. They have to beat the Chiefs. That's the one thing they're lacking still. So these are all great stats, but I think that's what you mean. A lot of people don't give McDermott credit until they finally get over that hump. And hopefully in January that finally is the time they do. And it certainly seems like the way both teams are playing, there's no reason why they can't.
I think the Bills established themselves after this week as the best team in football, potentially with the Lions.
Yeah.
But they're still a game behind, or a half game behind the Chiefs. Yeah, they're still a half game behind the Chiefs in the AFC standings. But if you look at the season as a whole and how the Chiefs has won and how the Bills have won and the fact that the Bills beat the Chiefs, as a Bills fan, you got to feel ultra confident that if or when they meet this year, the Bills will finally get the better of them.
And that's something that I know Mike Tirico on the broadcast last night made more or less a point of, is the fact that the Chiefs have all these one-score wins, and you kind of can't keep getting away with it. It eventually does catch up. And it kind of like you brought up, right? I mean, it's kind of the fact that, like, also the Bills just in each one of these wins at the moment, for the most part, just go out here and, I mean, they're winning by multiple possessions. You know,
5 of their 10 wins have been by 21 or more points.
Yeah.
It's 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, I know in the NFL it's hard to win, and especially a lot of these teams at least make it competitive. But the Bills don't let that happen very often. It's wild.
Yeah.
In 5 of their last 6 games, they've won by more than one score, including Kansas City, who they beat by 9. So,
And like yesterday, sorry to interrupt, Allen didn't even really he didn't play the fourth quarter. Trubisky came in with 13 minutes.
which was fun to see, good to see. Um, I had Josh Allen as my fantasy football quarterback, and
Wow.
going into last night, you're like, oh, he's probably not going to put up many numbers today. And then he goes ahead and gets 2 touchdowns on one play, 2 fantasy touchdowns on one play. He threw the ball, and then he ended up with it again and ran it in. That's a passing and a receiving touchdown. It almost seems unfair.
Yeah, I have him in one league, and I'm not going to sit here and complain. He's the first quarterback ever in NFL history to have a passing, rushing, and receiving touchdown in the same game. I can't remember the exact date. I'm struggling to pull it up. I know he's technically not the first to have a passing and receiving touchdown on the same play, but it's been multiple years would be an understatement.
Yeah, I think it's
since
happened 4 times in
Yeah.
the history of the league. I think they said last night something like that. But, talk about Josh Allen. Here's a guy that goes out there in those conditions and just takes a lot of contact. His left
Yeah.
wrist is obviously in pain. He didn't let it stop him. If that left wrist, fell off, he would just tape up the nub and go back out and keep performing well.
Extreme Ronnie Lott is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's right. Ronnie Lott cut off his pinky. Didn't cut off his finger.
Half his pinky, I think it was, yeah.
Game went back out. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's really something to see. Josh Allen is unbelievable. Unbelievably tough. I think he's tougher than Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. Patrick Mahomes might have a little more savvy.
Yeah.
But I think if you're talking about toughness, not only is Mahomes Allen tougher than Mahomes, but he's probably tougher than any other quarterback in the league.
And his play speaks for. What quarterback just dives like that to the pylon in the snow in a 21-3 game at that point? I believe it was
with a bad wrist.
Yeah, no quarterback does that. Find me one that does that.
There's only maybe one or two besides him in the league right now that would do it.
Yeah, maybe a Lamar Jackson or guys that are bigger guys like Allen, but.
Earlier in the game, remember when he muscled for that first down against those linebackers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he
moved
his feet into the ground and kept pushing.
NFL linebackers 2 yards downfield with his legs.
Yeah, he gets away from Fred Warner a couple times too. It was, by the way, I don't know if you guys know, was playing on a broken ankle.
Fred Warner?
Yeah.
And he was running around pretty good on that broken ankle.
Injections, he had a lot of injections.
It was weird because the broadcast goes like he was going into the medical room at one point with they call it cramps. I'm like, he's not like running as if it was like a cramp. And first off, that insane, on his part. But yeah, it's crazy. It helps too. Josh Allen, built. He's kind of built like Dalton Kincaid, right? He's built like a tight end who's just a quarterback.
Yeah,
kind of get away with kind of doing stuff like this. It's crazy. It's interesting because there was discourse last night on Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it now, that because of the game that, Barkley also had yesterday, it's like, well, Barkley closed the gap. I'm like, I don't know if he closed the gap, man. Like,
it's quarterbacks win MVP. Unless...
But even then, though, like, I take that out of it, and I'm just like looking at it. I'm like, you can't. Look, you can make the case. I'm not sitting here saying like Barkley's not MVP caliber, shouldn't be in the conversation, because he should be. But like, look at the game yesterday for the Bills, and like Skip Bayless probably like, well, you can't really gauge a snow game. Like, BS. Look at what Josh Allen, he's single-handedly, in a lot of ways, got the Bills the victory yesterday on offense.
Yeah, it's the typical MVP discussion is if Saquon is not on the Eagles, they probably still find a way to win games. If Allen's not on the Bills, I don't know how many games the Bills would have won this year. Mm-hmm. He's truly the most valuable player, along with someone like Patrick Mahomes or maybe even Lamar Jackson. Those types of guys are so valuable to their team that the team goes from a Super Bowl contender to a team, below 500 without him. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
But Saquon's great. It's tough as a running back to get the MVP unless you do something truly special. I think McCaffrey did it a couple years ago. Wasn't he the MVP like 3 years ago? Rushed for, had some crazy.
Yeah, I think it was
his like
scrimmage. I think it was like his second to last year in Carolina. Or was it his first year in San Fran?
First year in San Fran, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was first year.
Okay. Yeah.
And while we're talking about San Fran, as great as last night was, you can't get overly excited because San Francisco's not very good. They're just not. They're not the San Francisco 49ers of the past couple years. They were just on the road at Green Bay, and now they're on the road at Buffalo. It couldn't have been a better spot for the Bills to get them. McCaffrey goes down in the first half. You mentioned Fred Warner on a broken ankle, among the other injuries that threw their roster. So, yeah, it was a great win for the Bills to blow out a team like that, but I wouldn't get too excited over it, as a win. They were expected to win, and they did. And if they hadn't, that would have been pretty shocking.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, it's tough it's tough to view it like this, but like, and especially in a game like yesterday where it is weather affected in such a nature, like there still is like a window of like possibility that like we're talking about this on the other end, right? Where it's the 49ers did in some way, shape, or form win, but like I think
they
even
score on their first drive. They said
think,
instead of getting
true.
stalled out in the red zone, they score a touchdown. It might be a different game.
Yeah, it's true.
NFL's pretty weird like that.
Or if they make that field goal.
Yeah, a lot of missed field goals. For Moody, Bass got it done though. At least extra points and stuff. And you see Mac Hollins walking into the bare feet.
Loved it.
And then fans in the stands then copying him and taking their shoes and socks off.
That's just,
Somebody goes, "You're gonna get frostbite, dude."
Did you have you changed your opinions on Mac Hollins at all? I mean, he had a touchdown last night. Nice catch, nice play. I mean, he's a good complementary piece for this unit, isn't he? I know you're not a Mac Hollins fan.
Yeah, I still wonder when everyone's healthy how much he's gonna be on the field. Like Keon Coleman missing a third straight game, Kincaid not out there. But I do like him now. I think.
It's good to
I
have.
don't love him, but I like him. I think he's just a good, solid player that can make plays when needed.
Good locker room guy, probably.
Oh yeah.
Unique.
Yeah.
I think it was what Fitzpatrick was tweeting yesterday during everything, and I mean I follow Mac on TikTok. I think if you haven't followed him on TikTok, you got to. Like it's the greatest entertaining thing ever. But Ryan Fitzpatrick played with him down in Miami with the Dolphins, and he said you're not going to find a like truer person than him. He used the example, apparently Mac would get Chipotle every day down in Miami, and they switched the pricing to walk him away to like go up like 25 cents or something like that, and Mac has not had Chipotle since. So he's a man of principle.
There you go.
I mean, hey, look, sports got a lot of weird characters in it, man. Not just football, but sports, period. And it works still for Mac Hollins. And I did chuckle because people, too, were talking about, like, what's he wearing into the thing? Well, if you follow him on TikTok, the month of November was doing Mac science hacks. So he just wore the outfit he wore on TikTok into the game yesterday. So I loved it. The mad scientist got it was one reception and the touchdown, like you said, Jim. But look, this is a guy now we brought up on a pretty consistent basis for the past month in some way, shape, or form. And Kyle, I do agree with you. It will be interesting once the full deck comes back in. But for a wide receiver, really 3 to be fair, even when everybody's healthy, I think tough to really. Well, maybe not 3 anymore. Now I'm thinking about it with more.
Yeah, he would be 4. If Keon Coleman came back, he would be 4.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Fourth receivers receive a lot of action in games, especially games that aren't snowing.
Yeah.
He seems like
I think people forget too. He's
good
a big,
rapport.
he's a
with
big body.
Yeah, he's a big guy, which is different than the other Bills receivers. Coleman's
tall.
Yeah, tall but not big. And of course Shakir's not very big.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper's kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
How about Cooper with the pitch to Allen on
ladder.
that play? Everybody talking about Allen in that play, but Cooper had the presence of mind to give it to him. And he said, I had the ball and I saw Josh out there. I figured he wanted the ball, so I gave it to him. And that's a guy that has just been on the team for 3-4 weeks now. Cooper, and to already understand, I guess. what Allen was doing there and deliver him the ball for that amazing play and touchdown was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Cooper's also a guy who hasn't really been racking up the stats since he's been here.
Sure.
And you don't hear him complaining.
No.
Wanting the ball more.
He's always been a primarily quiet-ish guy. I think the only time I remember him really, I think, complaining was when he was trying to get out of Dallas, I think it was.
Yeah.
Either Dallas or with the Raiders. He kind of said something one time, and either way, yeah. Josh even said in the post-game interview with NBC, he said that, like, we just more or less made eye contact and kind of knew what to do. So you mentioned the presence of mind, high IQ. You got to have it.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I don't think there's really anything else game-wise. I mean, like I said, for me personally with weather games, it's kind of tough to like fully get whatever, especially in a blowout situation like it was last night, to really dive into too much and dissect things because it's just.
Yeah, I got one more takeaway from the game, and that's that the Bills defense and the 49ers for that regard, those guys were hitting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was a physical football game. My God, and as cold as it was, I mean, some of those hits had to hurt, but it's the hardest hitting defensive football game I think I've seen all year.
Yeah, I can think of maybe one more that happened yesterday that might have been more hard hitting, but yeah.
Where was that?
When Trevor Lawrence got knocked out.
Oh yeah, but that's a cheap shot. These guys were just lining up.
No, I know.
I mean,
do you think the weather plays a little bit into that? Like,
well, I think because it slows it down so you can line them up a little more. So when I mean, everybody's a little slower, so it's easier, I think, to get a square hit on a ball carrier. But you could feel those hits through the TV, and it was like, wow. And then you see poor Christian McCaffrey go out.
Yeah.
He was getting just lit up. He was having success on the ground, but just getting lit up, and then finally he gets hurt. As far as that Trevor Lawrence thing, I mean, Azir Shakir, whatever that guy's name is for Texas, he should be suspended.
Yeah.
Maybe for the year. That's just unacceptable.
I just remember one takeaway I do have, but it's not Bills related necessarily because I didn't hear any issue with them. But when you know it's a game like this, how do you not have long cleats ready to go?
Yeah, they were talking about that. Some guy, the snow was getting caught between the cleats, so they were coming like ice boots.
Especially the linemen. Like when I played, obviously I played line. It's not like I was out here playing freaking running back. Look at me. But like even in like normal,
fullback?
Even in normal,
could line you up like the Bears did in '86.
It's true, they could have, but but like even in like regular conditions, like on the like I had to wear long cleats, like, and I don't mean like if people don't know, so like the cleats you see a lot of like wide receivers and running backs wear now are kind of like, I call them borderline like soccer cleats in nature. Like they're very short, they're meant for the agility, quote unquote, right? But like I remember the ones I had were like that. Like I know it's not doing it justice on the screen, but like they were big, and a lot of linemen still use those type of cleats. I just can't believe like going into a professional football game, the equipment is not prepared and ready for the situation. It's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the field was covered until about 3 hours before kickoff. So the field conditions at kickoff were pretty decent, but they deteriorated obviously as the snow really started to come down. And you know what I'm not a fan of too in the snow games is I'm torn on it. The television superimposing the gray yard lines.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
See them. It is nice to be able to see it, but it really takes away from the scene, I think. And the gray color looks horrible against the white snow. I mean, I don't know if we need to see that.
I mean, I'll say this: NBC did better than Amazon did with it.
Yeah, Amazon was awful. I mean, that was the first time I seen it was on Amazon for that Pittsburgh Cleveland game. So maybe NBC improved on it being the second game they've used it, but I think they need to tone that down a little bit.
The tough part too is because of the way they do it. Now, it wasn't an issue so much with the Bills uniforms or with the 49er uniforms, is that when the white crosses over that, you lose the player in essence. And it just gets, it is a tough hang for those of us watching at home on TV.
I'd just assume not even know exactly where the yard lines were and just watch the spectacle of the the snow game.
One more random thing I just thought of. Did you see on the first field goal of the game when the 49ers made it, a Bills fan tried to throw a snowball to hit the ball?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And wasn't that far off if I remember looking at the video.
I was wondering what that was, by the way, because I couldn't make it out. I knew it was obviously a snowball of some sort, but I couldn't tell actually like where it was like destined to go.
Yeah, the depth perception was hard to tell. But I remember Bass kicking an extra point in the second half, and you couldn't even see the ball as it went.
Yeah.
You couldn't even tell if it was good or not.
Right.
He's like kicked it into the abyss and it disappeared.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know which one exactly you're talking about, because like I thought honestly he missed it.
Yeah, and
Based on
so
what I
did
saw,
Tirico.
Yeah.
And the field goal he missed, I believe, was from 43, wasn't it? And again, it was through the snow, so it was tough.
I don't know why. I understand if you're like within 30 yards attempting a field goal, but anything beyond that in those conditions, I've never understood it.
Just went for it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get it, you're just going to be right where you are when you miss the field goal.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Hey, more power to coaches. I don't blame them necessarily for trying, but that's why I said, I mean, you kind of wonder where the 49ers would be if they made that field goal in the first quarter. And just kind of, I don't know, frankly, set them up for doom in essence, as I would say. But,
that was not a fun night to be a 49er.
No
doubt. And you're heading home now, licking your wounds from this nightmare road trip. I don't know why the NFL could do this to them this time of year to send them to Green Bay and Buffalo back-to-back weeks.
I don't have a problem with the way it is. I do agree, though, the timing is just miserable. Because I brought it up last week, even right here, the fact that they had to go back west because of Thanksgiving for the holiday and then come back east, when a lot of times we see teams from west or even east, to be fair, if they have back-to-back on either coast, they'll just stay out for the week somewhere. Brutal. Just brutal.
Well, we're going to talk about the upcoming schedule right next week.
Yeah, we got the Rams for the Bills, continuing the NFC West swing for them.
I'm excited. I'm very excited because I think these next 2 weeks are going to be a true test of this team. First at Los Angeles, going to be a very difficult game, and we'll go from the snow to inside domes for the next 2 weeks too. It's going to be a different challenge for the Bills. And then, of course, after L.A., they go at Detroit, which we talked off the top. The best two teams in football are clearly the Bills and the Lions right now. Both are going to be late window, 4 o'clock games on Sunday. And
I believe, too, I saw, not to interrupt, I believe CBS is going on the road again for the Detroit game, if I'm not mistaken.
They are.
Okay.
No, it's going to be just a huge anticipation for that game. And, of course, they got to beat the Rams first, which is not going to be a gimme game by any stretch. But different types of challenges now for the Bills. And if we're sitting here on Monday, December 16th, with 2 more wins, it is full steam ahead into the playoffs. You got New England, the Jets, and New England for the last 3 weeks. But what happens on these next 2 weeks is really going to set the tone for the push into the playoffs and hopefully the Super Bowl. And the Bills can lose to the Lions, I think, and overcome that. They can't lose to the Rams and the Lions, and all of a sudden, you might be the Steelers or even the Chargers might be looking down at you in the AFC standings, and you're totally out of position. So I think it's, of course, the deeper you get into the season, the more important the games come. But this stretch for the Bills is one that we've been looking at and talking about for quite some time. We wondered if they could, get some momentum heading into these 2 road games, and they certainly have. So it's going to be a tough test.
Yeah. Current line 3.5 for Sunday at the moment. Bills are favorites. Actually 4.5. Apologies. Opened at 3.5. Now at 4.5 already. So
that's a lot.
Yeah. It's interesting. Bills 4-2 on the road. Rams are 3-3 at home.
They're healthy. Got Kupp and Puka Nacua back. Kyron Williams is healthy. The defense is relatively healthy. I mean, they struggled to beat the Saints yesterday, but they did on the road, right? That
Yeah.
game was, so it, it's going to be a tough game, and then it gets tougher the following week, obviously.
Yeah.
So you want them to obviously beat the Rams so they can go to Detroit, and that game will be so hyped.
Yeah.
And I don't know who Detroit plays next week.
Good question. I don't know. We'll have to look that up quickly. But yeah, I mean, this is a
Packers Thursday Night Football.
Oh,
in
wow.
Detroit.
Okay.
Okay, so the Detroit are going to have a tough divisional game that they could lose, even though they are home. But then they get that extra rest before the Bills come in, so that's working against the Bills too. Yeah, really going to be some interesting stuff here. It's December. It's December.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, week 14, it's crazy. But yeah, this is it's a recharged, reinvigorated Ram team because of the health. I mean, more than anything else. And like you said, Jim, I know they struggled a little bit. Win's a win with the Saints, but that's also been a weird team to kind of.
Maybe more important to the Rams than the Bills.
Yeah,
The Rams are fighting for their playoff lives, just like last year.
No, it definitely. I don't disagree with you. It definitely is because the NFC West is. I mean, even the 49ers are still well in it. I mean, I think is every team within 2 games now in that division, or is it 2 or 3 games? I think,
Yeah,
but
the Cardinals lost to the game they could have won.
Yeah,
against the Vikings yesterday.
Seahawks had to come from behind to beat the Jets.
Seahawks never lost in MetLife Stadium.
Wait, really?
Yeah, 7-0 now,
That's crazy.
including their Super Bowl win.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And it was what 21-6
Yeah.
at one point.
Yeah.
The Jets were up big, and
Yeah,
they never scored again.
Jets are just a joke. It's so funny. Good, screw them.
Yeah. Yeah. Not great by any means.
3-9.
Do have a couple notes on the Rams.
Yeah.
I researched this late last night. They cannot stop the run.
Yeah.
They allow the 5th most rushing yards per game. With it being inside, I don't see why James Cook and all the rest of the running backs and Josh Allen can't have a big day on the ground. And total yards per game, they rank 8th in the NFL. They give up a lot of yards too. So that is their weakness, but you're right. Since their bye week in week 6, which is very early, they've won 5 of 7. However, they don't blow out teams, and they've only reached 30 points in 1 game this year. And that was against, surprisingly, the Vikings when they beat them. So they don't score a ton, but they can obviously move the ball. And like you said, Kyron Williams is definitely a threat inside the red zone. I mean, that guy just scores, it seems like, every week. So, they're no team to look over, despite their, 500 record. And I don't really know how I feel about this game.
Got to go all the way out west.
Yeah. And they've won so much, the Bills have.
Yeah.
That it just seems like, is this finally the one they drop? Hopefully not. But yeah, the Rams are definitely playing good.
Yeah, I mean, Kyron Williams and James Cook have not really identical numbers per se, but they've been the same kind of type of running back this year. James Cook has 1 more touchdown, 11-10. Williams has more yards and carries than Cook. But it's that red zone kind of thread that you mentioned with Kyle with Williams, where it's like he's kind of in there every week, it seems. It's interesting. The only part of the going west thing I have any issue with, quote unquote, in that sense is the travel element of it. I don't view SoFi Stadium as being a big home field advantage. I kind of talked a little bit about that last
Just
week.
a field
Yeah,
that they're playing on.
yeah. I mean, look, not to disrespect Rams fans because they are big and they are passionate.
Yeah, but they're all in St. Louis.
But SoFi Stadium is a transient fan stadium. It's L.A. It's you have outside fans coming in a ton. Just even if their team's not in it because they're just
Bills will travel well for
LA.
that one.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of Bills fans there.
Yeah, remember they opened the season in 2022 against each other, and the Bills won big. And since they moved to LA, the Rams have never beaten the Bills. They last beat the Bills as the St. Louis Rams in 2012. So again, stats like that really don't matter. Different rosters, different times, but just find it a little interesting that they're 3-0 and 2-0 in LA. So yeah,
Hopefully 3-0 in LA after next week, right?
yeah.
What was the quarterback matchup in that 2012 game?
Kurt Warner?
Sam Bradford for sure for the Rams, right?
I think it was Sam Bradford.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of who it would have been for the Bills.
2012.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
No. Actually, wait, would it have been
Might
Fitzy?
have been. Yeah.
Gosh, that's oh god, we're getting into my territory of fun randomness going on there.
2012 is 12 years ago. Yeah, it could have been Fitzpatrick. No, it could have been.
I'm trying to think of who was like.
Kyle's on the
Yeah, I know.
doing some research.
Yeah, it was Sam Bradford against, where is it? Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Okay, yeah.
Hmm.
Send that one home, Jerome.
Joe Ferguson. Probably doesn't mean nothing to you guys. You guys remember Joe? You don't remember.
I mean, I don't
you know
remember
what
him,
I'm
but
talking about?
you've brought him up a couple different times. I know that. Oh man, yeah, it was pretty cool yesterday. By the way, I know Flutie was big on the pregame stuff there. I saw, and
Apparently went out
like
to
that.
dinner with Tarico.
Really?
Yeah, Tarico mentioned that they went out to dinner.
yeah.
Like, yeah, Flutie. Bring back the Flutie flakes.
Yeah. Doesn't Josh has a cereal, right? Josh, doesn't he have a cereal?
Yeah, I haven't. It's been like a while though since they've talked about it. It was
Yeah.
like a big thing at first, and now I don't know where it went.
Yeah.
Josh Allen cereal.
I think it's just like a Fruit Loop based cereal. I think
It's
that
basically,
was.
it's just anything that they just
Yeah.
throw his name on.
Right.
It's not like he designed
No,
something new.
no. He does have his own sauce though. Still, I know that. So
What, like pasta sauce or hot sauce?
no, like wing sauce. Yeah, yeah. So, all right. Over under opened at 48.5. Now up to 49.5. So, looks like people are kind of really latching on to the Bills getting to that 30 mark again. I definitely see that happening again, at least in my eyes. The interesting part is, for as good as the Rams' offense has now kind of clicked a little bit, you brought up a good point, Kyle. They don't really get to that 30 mark, though, on their end. So I don't know if they're going to necessarily win that shootout with the Bills.
I think it's a bad matchup for the Bills' defense
Oh, okay.
compared to a lot of other teams that they play. I think the secondary is going to struggle with Nakua and Kupp, and you know, it's like I said, we saw yesterday. The Niners were able to run the ball early, and if they didn't turn the ball over 3 times, you know, I think they would have continued having success with Jordan Mason running the ball. It's the game worries me. I do think the Bills will win. You want my prediction?
I've had it. Yeah, we're pretty much at that point anyway.
Yeah, I think the Bills will win it. I think it'll be 34 to 30.
All right. I'm on the similar-ish path, but I'm going Bills 30, Rams 20. I think Bills kind of keep them at arm's distance enough, and look, I think the Rams are well threatened on offense, but like I said, I just don't think they can necessarily keep up shootout style when push comes to shove.
Trivia: how many times did the Bills how many times this year have the Bills not scored 30 points? They're 10-2. So how many? Yep, 3, and 2 of them were losses, obviously.
Yep, Ravens, and who was the other one?
Houston.
Texans. Yep.
And then the Jets, they beat the Jets 23-20.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think they'll easily get 30 against the Rams, and I just have some concerns about the defense against this particular offense.
Yeah.
But it will be a nice preview of next week's game against Detroit, where the challenges will be even
And more amplified.
yeah. So it's be a totally different game than we saw this week in the snow, obviously.
I'll go 31-23. I actually wrote this down last night. So.
Okay. I believe you anyway on that.
But it's funny that, like, we're just automatically thinking the Bills are getting 30 because it's like clockwork with them. No other team's been doing this. That's why they have the most 30-point games this year.
I mean, to an element, right? It's prove us wrong at this point. I mean, I've said football's the one sport where I feel that way. Like until you prove me otherwise, this is the way I'm gonna have to think, right?
6 weeks in a row, the Bills have scored 30 points, and that includes at Seattle against Tennessee. You know, Miami's no surprise. At Indianapolis on the road against Kansas City. Not many teams have put up 30 against Kansas City this year. And now, you know, San Francisco in the snow.
Yeah.
And that ties a franchise record, too, by the way.
6 30-plus games in a row is well,
It was in 2004.
Who was quarterback then?
Oh, that's Bledsoe,
Doug
baby.
Flutie?
Oh, that's Bledsoe. I know that for a fact to be Bledsoe.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yep. Started 16 games in 2000.
And who was his starting receivers in 2004?
One had to be why am I drawing a blank?
Yeah, I'm drawing a
Mound, right? Mounds or whatever his
Molds.
thank
Eric
you.
Molds.
Yeah.
Who's great.
Yeah. One of them has to be him.
Mounds.
Yeah, I don't just my brain.
He's a Washington guy.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way, on your Commanders. They really are something.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was Lee Evans, Eric Molds.
No, that's who I was actually thinking of was Lee Evans though.
Lee Evans, wow. In
Jack
2004.
Mark Campbell was the tight end.
Yep.
He had 5 touchdowns.
And who was the running back?
Willis McGahee
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
rushed for 1,100
You
yards.
know, that was a good Bills team.
Yeah, they went. Let's see. They went 9-7.
you know, so I know we're talking offense in that era, but you know who my actual favorite Bill of that era is, without a doubt? Takeo Spikes.
I just
Oh,
read
yeah.
his name here. On defense.
That dude. Are you, Kyle? You're
Came
probably
over
not
from
really old.
Cincinnati.
You're probably not really old enough to know Takeo, right? All that much.
No.
That dude was an absolute psychopath. Like that dude was like the last of like the nut jobs, I would call him, on like linebacker.
Well, yeah. Look at him.
I mean, well, no, I'm just saying. I know. I'm aware. I'm aware.
He started with
He's ready to kill.
Cincinnati.
About to say, I know he ended with the Chargers, but man, that dude was nuts. Auburn Tiger, by the way, who shout out to the Iron Bowl. Fun weekend of college football as well as pro football. So I think that about does it for the podcast today.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to get into the Chiefs' ridiculous win again on Black Friday.
I know.
I
I
don't-
had the
I don't
Raiders
have it
plus
in me.
12.5. I mean, it's so funny. How can the Chiefs give 12.5 points to anybody this year? But they did, and I jumped on it. And
I get
Got-
winning is all that matters, but come on. We've never, ever seen a team in NFL history win like this over and over and over.
That's why they,
partly is ref assisted, I think. I think the Chiefs are just in that spot now where they're going to get the key calls at the key times, and the other part is Mahomes. You know, it's almost boring, I think, for Patrick Mahomes to go out there back and forth. Okay, we're inside 2 minutes now in the fourth quarter. Let me go ahead and get the win. That's what it feels like.
I hate doing the referee thing because I think part of it is people are just grasping. But Friday's a tough hang, knowing just visually even seeing the line judge even come flying in before, and
Yeah, it's like we can't let them lose.
it's a tough look, to say the least. But that's here nor there at the moment for the Bills because
They get the Chargers, though, Sunday night. Can the Chargers help out the Bills? We'll see.
I don't know.
That's
I
going to be a
don't see-
real interesting game because the Chargers are red hot. They are red
Playing
hot.
tough in the first game.
And then, you can't. Yeah, we hope the Chargers beat the Chiefs, but guess what? If the Chargers beat the Chiefs, they're also now closer to the Bills. Like they're right in the hunt too for this AFC. The seeding for the AFC playoffs. They're 8-4. The Bills are 10-2. So if the Bills drop one of their next two, and the Chiefs happen to beat the Chargers and win whoever else they play in the next 2 weeks, then all of a sudden we'd be tied with the Chargers.
Yeah, and then we got to mention the Steelers, 9-3. It's just incredible what they're doing. I mean, do the Bengals have a defense? Or are they trying? Like,
I don't know,
44
but
points. I don't remember the last time a Steelers team has put up 44.
Joe Burrow looks broken.
one thing I like about this Bills teams is that they can seem to win games different ways.
Yep.
But how about the Steelers winning games without scoring touchdowns and then putting up 50 points, in a game, like Russell Wilson throwing for 400 yards. They're coming into their own too. We talk about the Bills just needing to beat the Chiefs, but along the way, they're going to need to beat the Chargers or the Steelers or the Ravens or the Texans.
Yeah, and that win yesterday was coming off that loss to the Browns.
Yeah.
And then the Steelers, the other loss was against the Dallas Cowboys. Are
I
you
know.
kidding me?
Really, they could be.
And they only scored 17 against that defense.
It's kind of wild.
Incredible.
Kind of wild.
So,
Yeah, who would ever lose to the Cowboys? Could never be me.
well, the Giants looked pretty bad.
Wow. Yeah, that's not quite who I was getting at, but yeah.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, the Giants should be embarrassed. What are they, 2-10 now?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I got no words there.
They should draft Kyle McCord next year.
I like your thinking. I like your thinking a lot on that one, Jim. Yeah. Hey, yeah, it was a pretty good week overall now that I'm thinking about it for
Sports.
a lot of New York football fans around here. So
Upstate New York fans.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But there's a lot of orange down in NYC, so
Yeah, it's just not a good week for the Jets
No.
or the Giants again.
no. So hey, we'll keep rolling though here with Bills. So that will do it for today here on Bills Weekly. Back at it again next Monday, same time, same place. We'll see if the narrative keeps going to Victory Monday. I think it will be. We all think it will be. So we'll continue stampeding forward with that mantra in mind. You can find Bills Weekly and all other podcasts here on FingerLakes1.com, on FingerLakes1.com, the FO1 YouTube channel, and all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Amazon Music. Like I said, back at it again next Monday, and let's go Buffalo.